Okay, so hi everyone, J.MAK students. Welcome back to summer school. So happy to see you today. Ha ha ha. So today we have a little slight change in programming as Seabird is no longer joining us. However, we have our fabulous partner, Rascal Voyages, and Stephen, who is such a doll and is up at 4 a.m. in the morning in Singapore to be with us today to present Rascal Voyages. So thank you so much, Stephen, for being here. And of course, if anyone has any private yacht needs, please let us know at J.MAK and we'll be happy to connect you with the team at Seabird. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Meg Crosby, hospitality personality at J.MAK based in Raleigh, North Carolina. Today, after the presentation, once Stephen finishes up, we're going to open the floor for a Q&A session. So feel free to put those questions in the chat or in the Q&A section, or just be ready once we're done with the presentation. Our summer school series continues tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time, and that's going to be all about classic vacations. So you can join by visiting jmak.com on our events page, and you'll see the registration link there. So please join us tomorrow as well. So hi everyone, and Stephen, fire away.
Sure. Thank you very much, Meg. I hope you all can hear me well. Just shout out if you can't. Yeah, I'm currently in Singapore on business in a funny little hotel room. So excuse the background, but I actually live in Indonesia, in Bali, with my family. I'm originally from the UK, but I left the UK about 20 years ago. And I've been living in Bali for the last 4 or 5 years, which has been great. As Meg said, I'm kind of Chief Rascal, CEO and founder of Rascal Voyages. Rascal Voyages, we have we own and operate two, soon to be three luxury yachts. They are each handcrafted in Indonesia on a remote beach in Sulawesi. They took 3 years each to build by traditional Indonesian shipbuilders with Indonesian wood. And that started about 9 years ago for the first one. So we've been in operation for about 6 years. I'd say each of our yachts is basically a carbon copy of the other one. They each have 5 cabins. They have a maximum of 10 guests, and we have 12 crew. So the service levels and the luxury levels are extremely high. We have a fam trip happening at the moment where there's 6 guests and 12 crew. So they're going to be very well looked after. As Meg just mentioned, we are a yachting partner of J.MAK. I like to always talk about us as floating villas. And the reason I talk about that is firstly that I think we really are more like villas than anything else. Like, we're not exactly performance yachts. There's no sails, and we literally pootle around, we float around to try and discover the undiscovered parts of Indonesia. I think secondly, if I was to try and pass some advice on how to market us, I think if you market Rascal Ventures as solely the luxury yacht charter, then it's quite niche. You're specifically only looking then for somebody that's looking for a yacht charter in Indonesia. Where Indonesia, I'm speaking to experts here, but Indonesia's 18,000 islands, it's not connected. And the only way to really explore it is on the water. So, that's why I think if you promote it as a luxury floating villa, it's really for anybody, any of your guests that maybe is a family or 2 families, a multi-gen family, a group of friends, a group of couples, whatever it might be, and they want to explore a destination and pootle around at a very slow pace. We're probably going at 5, 6, 7 knots. As I said, it's not performance yachting. It's just exploring this beautiful country, 18,000 islands that isn't connected, in a very safe and luxurious manner. So that's what we're about. And I think it's really for anybody that, previously just wants to get out and about and explore an area. Anyone that maybe you've pitched or talked about a skiing holiday or a safari holiday, probably people that are quite active are usually very interested and love Rascal Voyages. There's so much to do that I'll go into that in a minute. But also we have people just like to read a book and have as many cocktails as they wish. So we do that as well. So what makes us different? Well, as I said, there's no sales. When we were designing the boats initially, I was doing my research and I looked at all the other boats and they all look beautiful. They're all very dark and wooden and they have these huge sails. And I sat down with a voyage planner at a travel agency and was trying to work out, okay, so why do they go from one part of Indonesia to another part of Indonesia at any point in time? And the answer to that is basically the wind. You're always looking in Indonesia to be away from the wind because we're not performance yachting, as I say. The idea is that it's always kind of pancake flat ocean. And so if you didn't want the wind, I was like, well, what's the point of having sails? I didn't come from a sailing background, so the traditional kind of having to have sails wasn't set in stone for me. So I sat down with a marine architect. Sorry, the coffee hasn't kicked in yet at 4 a.m. But I sat down with a marine architect and said, well, what happens if we take out the sails and everything else? And it gave us a lot more room. And so uniquely, each of Rascal's boats, all the cabins are above deck. So sometimes with a normal yacht, you'll have one amazing cabin, and then the rest of the guests usually have to stay downstairs below deck in a dark and gloomy room. You don't have that at Rascal. Every single cabin is en suite. Every single cabin has 2-meter ceiling heights. It has gorgeous bay windows. So it really is like a floating villa. So you're moving around with that set in that sense. I've just put some notes down this morning. I'm just having a quick look at to make sure I stay on track. The food, I'm a complete foodie. So again, when I was looking to do this, I was like, okay, what could be some obstacles? And the first one was, well, we've got to make sure that all 5 cabins are amazing. So everyone has an amazing cabin, and I've touched on that. So that happens. No, they are in different sizes. Like some are larger and some are smaller, but they're all a minimum of a queen size bed, minimum of ensuite, but most of them are king size bed and huge. We have 2 masters that are about 25 square meters, just to give you an understanding. I'll show a couple of images shortly. Secondly, I'd say the food. I think that is an obstacle, particularly when you're in the middle of Raja Ampat or Komodo or the Banda Seas in Indonesia. It is remote. It's not like the Med or the Caribbean where you can tender into different restaurants and bars. You're discovering the undiscovered, right? You're going to places, I like to call it destinations with soul. Your guests may go on a beach that no human's ever been on before. That's the feel to it. And the boats, the floating villas, the floating villas, they bring the luxury. So all the infrastructure, all the beautiful mattresses and the hot showers and the amazing food and everything else, they're on Rascal. And we take you to a beach, for example. We'll set up a private beach club. You'll have kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, wakeboarding, volleyball, football. We'll put on a seafood grill for you, put the music on, set up a bar, set up a spa. You'll have an amazing time. And then once you've had enough, we'll pack it all up and we'll go somewhere else. We'll go and discover somewhere else. So getting back on track, what makes us different? The food's amazing. So out of the 12 crew, you have 2 private chefs on every yacht. And then we have 4 supporting chefs in our Bali headquarters. So yeah, the food's amazing. We get a lot of feedback that people are doing a Southeast Asia trip, or maybe they're doing a trip of Indonesia and they're staying at some of the best hotels in the world. And they very often write back and said the food was the best on Rascal out of or Rebel. The boats are called Rascal and Rebel, and the third is going to be called Rogue. I need to find another naughty word beginning with R. If anyone's got any ideas, we can do that at the end. So Rascal, Rebel, and Rogue. Yeah, we have in total kind of 6 chefs, so the food's absolutely fantastic. I can pretty much guarantee it's going to be the best food that your guests will have on a trip in the middle of nowhere. There's so much to do. Kind of touched on some of that. I think eating, I've just covered that for sure. There's drinking as well. We have our own distilled Rascal rum, which is delicious and goes well in all sorts of cocktails. Our crew have regular mixology training. Onto some activities. There's diving, there's snorkeling. I mean, the key 2 areas would be Raja Ampat and Komodo, and they're both in the top 10 for diving and snorkeling due to the marine life. Raja Ampat alone has 75% of all marine life in the world. So all 75% of all marine life lives in this little one park. So you can imagine how good that snorkeling and diving is. The visibility is off the charts, at maybe 40 meters. We don't market ourselves as a dive boat. There's lots of dive boats out here. I think that really limits it. Again, as I said, we market ourselves as a floating villa for anyone that basically just wants to explore Indonesia or Southeast Asia. We're soon to go to Malaysia and Thailand. Because you can do snorkeling, you can do diving, you can do nothing and just read your book and do our outdoor cinema and drink some cocktails. Or you could do wakeboarding, kayaking, SUP, flying mattress. We have golf, where the golf balls are made of fish food, so you can feed the fish and hit some golf balls. You can go bird watching, trekking, volleyball on the beach, football on the beach. Yeah, there's loads and loads to do. You're definitely not going to get bored, okay? On to maybe some of the facts. Meg, how am I doing on time? Still got 10 minutes or so? Yeah, okay. So we mainly do private voyages. I'd say 90% of what we do is private voyage. For us, it enables us to really bespoke it. We love to curate everything. Obviously, there's different seasons as far as locations, but we are always on peak, if you like. The luxury that we have is that we are a floating villa. We can move around, and so we move away from the wind to make sure we're always in the best conditions. So the good news is you can always contact us, and we should always be able to book you in, and it's always going to be peak for your guests. It's just they'll be going to a different destination. So it's typically a private voyage. As I said, there's 5 cabins, so it's up to 10 guests, and it's $12,000 plus tax, which is 11% here. And that includes everything you can think of, apart from alcohol. So all your food, all the activities, all the diving, all your soft drinks, everything you can think of. If you have a family or a group that want alcohol included, so they don't have to think about anything, then that's no problem. We can work something out, but packaged together. But it's basically $12,000 and it includes absolutely everything per night. So if they maxed it and they put 10 people on board, that's $1,200 per person. I mentioned we don't have an off season. Indonesia is huge. So if you take America east to west, that's kind of the same as Indonesia north to south. So we're moving to make sure that we're always in the best conditions. The 2 that we're kind of that are most famous, and I can share some itineraries, would be Komodo, which is Komodo National Park, has the big lizards, very big lizards, and then you have Raja Ampat. David Attenborough calls Raja Ampat the last paradise on earth. It really is gorgeous. It's my favorite place on earth. You can get on Rascal or Rebel, and you can explore and possibly not see anyone for 3 days, apart from amazing bird life and marine life and the best beaches in Indonesia. It's absolutely stunning. Komodo is a little bit busier. It's more accessible, but it's still absolutely beautiful, amazing marine life. Your guests shouldn't notice too much of a difference. It's just my team have to work a lot harder because it's busier. So we want to make sure that you have that exclusive feel, so away from everyone. Just seeing a pop up like seas calm, yeah, that's all of our planning. Like, the idea is that, again, we're a floating villa. We don't have masts and sails. We're pootling around at 6-7 knots. It's meant to be ocean pancake flat. Yeah, 1, so you don't get seasick, obviously. 2, so you can do as many activities as you possibly can. When the wind gets up, you get a bit more swell and it gets a bit more choppy. You can't do stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, snorkeling, so all those kind of things. So yeah, the aim is that the seas are always extremely calm. Yeah, so because we can move around, we're always available. We're extremely generous. We offer a 20% commission on the charter rate to our wonderful partners, and we always try to do some specials with the brilliant J.MAK team. We have a support team in our Bali office of 12 people, and that's just to assist you guys. I'd say 75%, 80% of our bookings come through the travel partners. And so we've really kind of beefed up our team here. We have Sharifa, if anybody knows Sharifa. And she has a team of reservation assistants and voyage planners. We then have voyage managers to help with itineraries, all the way through ops and provisioning and logistics to get whatever your guests want last minute. So just think of us as an extension of your team. That's what we try to say. Indonesia can be hard to sell. It's huge. It's 18,000 islands. It has, you know, islands with funny names and weird airport codes that nobody really understands. Let us do all that for you. You know, we know Indonesia, we know the product. If you can find guests that you think are interested in this, then just think of us as an extension of your team, dedicated to try and book Rascal Voyages for you. So we love to get on calls with agents and your guests and find out about them. They're all different. As I said, some like to get up early in the morning, have a diet. Yeah, we can get up at 4, no problem. We can. Some guests like to have a dive, like before breakfast, and then like have breakfast. Then they'll go wakeboarding at like 8 a.m. Then they'll get back and they want to go for a trek. Then they'll want to do some yoga. Then they might have some lunch. Then they'll go for a snorkel. Then they'll go kayaking. Like uber active. And we have others that just want to drink cocktails and read their books. They're all different and they're all fine, but it will change the itinerary slightly. So we do love to get on a call like this with as many guests as possible. Why are we called Rascal? I'd say most people put 2 and 2 together and assume it's because I'm a rascal, which is true. But we started this close to, I'd say, 10 years ago. The idea was about 10 years ago, then took 3 years to build the first, and now we've been in operation for 6 years. I think 10 years ago, I felt that luxury travel was becoming quite stale. It was quite predictable. I think at the time Accor was kind of buying up absolutely everything, and it felt like it was the same experience, just regurgitated and in different colours. And I really wanted, you know, an experience that encouraged you to be kind of your inner rascal. You know, those kind of feelings of when you were a child, and your emotions were unfiltered, and you could just like really enjoy yourself without any inhibitions. And I think what Rascal Voyages does extremely well is encourage you and your guests to feel like that, and to feel like that when you're around like your closest friends and your closest family, and discovering literally undiscovered parts of the world, but in total luxury and total safety. So that's what Rascal's about. It's really reconnecting yourself. It's exploring destinations with soul, and yeah, having an amazing time. Not sure to go to questions. I always get one other question that's asked, and that is, how does Rascal start? And I'll give you a brief version of that as far as how it started. So Rascal, the idea started, as I said, about 10 years ago. So I mentioned at the top, I'm originally from the UK. I moved out to Asia in 2004. I was originally working in commercial sports, so running around like Jerry Maguire, but in the golf world rather than American football. After a couple of years of doing that, I started setting up my own businesses. So I've been an entrepreneur for about 18 years. And originally it was setting up bars and restaurants and clubs, so very much hospitality background, not taught or learned. I did that for a while, and then about 12 years ago, I set up a property fund with my business partner, and it was a very simple fund. It was effectively buying beautiful land in Indonesia, but completely inaccessible. And so the idea was that the business plan was very much, as the infrastructure improves, like roads and airports and things like that, the value of the land will increase, and we'll be able to sell the money to people who actually know what they're doing. That never happened. The value of the land went up. We didn't sell it. So now we're developing that out, and we're building hotels and villas and all sorts of things in Lombok, which is one island east of Bali. But we set up a fund around that, and it was going very well. And I needed to expand, and I needed to look for new land. And so at the time, I was living in Singapore. I used to live here for 14 years. I used to search on Google Earth for different parts of Indonesia, beautiful islands that looked like they had gorgeous beaches and could be a perfect development site. And I found this particular site on the west coast of Sumbawa, and it looked gorgeous. And I tried to send lots of questions out to people to find out more about it, and very little came through. So this was pre-wife and pre-kids. So I said, well, I'll just go over there for as long as it takes. So I flew from Singapore to Bali. I then flew from Bali to Lombok. I then got on, I traveled across Lombok. I then got on a trade ferry, which was extremely slow, even though it's not very far. It felt like I was going backwards most of the time. There was chickens flying around. There was truck drivers singing karaoke. It was terrible. And eventually got to Sumbawa, and I hired a car and I hired a driver, and we head off to where I think this beautiful site's going to be. Long story short, we get there. It is really inaccessible. I can't get to the site. So we backtrack to a village called Ketasari, which is a fishing village, and my car driver speaks to a fisherman, and we hire like a two-man kind of boat, like a traditional wooden kind of, you've seen those boats in Indonesia and Thailand. They've got a lawnmower engine on the back, and bang, 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 bang. So we hire that, and we go around the point to look at this beautiful land, and it is gorgeous, and I'm blown away, and it's a really memorable. I can go back there now instantly, and I can remember seeing it for the first time. There's kind of two beautiful headlands, 400 meters of white sandy beach as it goes back. It's gorgeous, auditorium kind of shape. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I can't believe nobody's seen this before. It's absolutely gorgeous. And just so thinking that, we hit a big wave and the boat capsizes, turns over. The engine's going everywhere. I managed to get the engine and get control of that, turn that off. Me and the car driver, who, was the captain of the boat as well, are holding on to the boat, but we're not really going. We're kind of just bobbing around for 20 minutes. And then I decide, right, I'm going to swim into coast. We're about 300 meters away. So I kind of communicate that, right, let's swim in to the coast to my driver stroke captain. And I think he'd heard of the word swimming before, and he thought he'd give it a go. And so he starts to swim, but doesn't do very well. He starts drowning. And so I go back, grab him, and then we get into the coast, and that is all quite emotional, and it's still very in my head. Everyone was fine. We ended up trekking back over and eventually getting to the village. Thankfully, all the valuables were in the car. Paid the fisherman some money, and everything was good. But the main point of the story was, at that moment, it was stunning. It was absolutely stunning. Turquoise water, amazing marine life. You could literally see turtles and everything, amazing birds, white sandy beaches, and nobody there, zero people there, didn't see anyone. And so when I went back to Singapore, I said to my business partner, one, I'm an absolute hero. I've saved someone's life. I deserve a medal or something, which I didn't get. I also said we should buy this piece of land and develop it, which we did, and also said what we need to do is we need an experience where you can explore Indonesia and see all these beautiful areas that nobody's seen before or nobody's really discovered, but rather than on a crappy little boat with a lawnmower engine and fumes in your face and splinters in your backside and getting sunburnt, how about doing it in total luxury and total safety? So that was the original idea conception for Rascal Voyages about 10 years ago. And so that's how Rascals kind of developed through. So that's how it started. How are we doing on time?
Doing great on time. I'm not sure how my face looks on this Zoom presentation because that's quite a story. But do you want to show some pictures of the
Sure.
villas too? Loading villas.
Loading villas. Make sure I pick the right document. So
lovely.
This is Rebel. Can you see that?
Beautiful.
So this is Rebel. Rascal's pretty much exactly the same. Rogue will be again pretty much exactly the same. So you can see there's two decks. We have our top deck and the main deck. So on the top deck, this is one of the master cabins. So as you can see, windows all the way around. Here is the another master cabin basically. So windows on both sides. Down the bottom here, we have a huge indoor saloon you'll see shortly, outdoor dining around here. You have a front deck up here, and then you have a cabin here, and then a cabin the other side. So 5 cabins all above deck. All the crew live down here. They have fantastic quarters. You have the engine room around here, do laundry, a huge kitchen on the other side. And up the top here, when we're not moving, we always set up like sunset cocktails. We set up the golf driving range, as I mentioned, to feed the fish with the golf balls made of fish food. We set up music and a bar and watch the sunset every night, which is absolutely gorgeous. And obviously, with no kind of pollution around or air pollution, the night skies are off the chart. So we kind of set up some night gazing as well. I'll just show you some of the cabins. Well, this is at the front deck. So for me, luxury isn't about having gold-plated doorknobs and all the unnecessary stuff. It's very much about true luxury, touched on the food, but in simple terms, it's barefoot luxury, I suppose, or naked luxury, or rugged luxury, or pick whichever one you want. But it's, having the best possible mattress you can get. We get the most luxurious mattresses we can possibly find. We get the most luxurious linen we can possibly find, and the softest pillows or the hardest pillows or whatever you want. Power showers, the absolute best food, the best drinks, and then the best equipment around. But it should still feel homely. I hate the idea that you have to dress up as well to eat what food you want. Like if you want to be in board shorts and a cap or a bikini and have a cheeseburger or a grilled snapper, and you want your feet in the sand and you want to have Dom Perignon or you want to have a Diet Coke, whatever you want, right? That's luxury for me. So this is the feel to it. I think the designer calls this Lux. What does she call it? Tropical Lux, whatever that is. So there you go. That's Tropical Lux, apparently. Here's another side. So very traditional, but the interiors, lots of equipment. Oh yeah, this is a key point, I suppose. Each of the boats has an adjoining 2 speedboats. These tenders, they're ribs, but they go 45 knots an hour. They're very, very fast. So wakeboarding, etc., is fantastic. But that's important to understand because if you have a group of, I don't know, 8, typically our groups are around 7 to 8. It seems to be. But sometimes we have like just 4 people. Sometimes obviously 10. But you don't have to do everything the same. A lot of people do, but you could have 3 people that go off for a trek or bird watching, 3 people that want to go off snorkeling and diving, and then the rest of the people want to stay on the boat and just chill. So you can really split it up and do lots of different activities at the same time with 2 adjoining speedboats. This is one of the masters, as I said. So yeah, above deck, it's a super king size bed. You've got day bed, you've got 2 wardrobes, there's a desk actually behind the bed there. There's a flat screen TV that you can see that nobody ever watches because there's too much to do. You have a huge ensuite, and as I said, it's around 25 square meters. Bathrooms are gorgeous. Lots of comments usually about how much they like the bathrooms. Very open and airy, power showers. Not what you'd expect on a traditional yacht. So the floating villa concept. This is the other huge, super spacious, as you can see. This is more of a bespoke bunk bed, works really well with maybe single travelers or kids, maybe. Yeah, so kind of it's a queen size or a king, yeah, a double and then a king single. Cabin 2, which is another large, very large cabin at the front of the boat. And this is our smallest, but it's still a queen size bed. I did touch on, I forgot actually, waking up now, but we have 90% of what we do is private voyages, but we also do cabin voyages. We probably do 1 a month per boat, where guests can just take a cabin. And that is priced between $2,500 US for this cabin, or $3,500 for like the master cabin. I think that the cabin 4 is 3,300. So we do that as well. So that's the look and feel. What else can I show you? This is the other bridge. This is the indoor dining. So this is aircon. It's got Bose surround system if you want to have a bit of a party. This is where you usually find me, either at the bar or behind the bar, making some martinis. You can eat inside if you want respite from the sun and you just want some aircon. We have outdoor dining here, which is where people spend most of the time, which is this. It's gorgeous. We have a wine cellar, which is very unusual. I think we're the only boat with a wine cellar in Indonesia. It has 220 bottles of wine there, so you can do some wine tasting. We've got it set up with some charcuterie and cheese platters there. And then the roof deck, as I said, very simple. Just a bucket of beers, some canapes or some cocktails, etc., and watch the sun come down. So that is a little flavour of what we're about.
Awesome.
We love fam trips, is the other thing to say. We really do, I really do believe the best way for you guys to promote it is to live it, is to experience it. So you know, we'd love to get as many people on board as possible to spread the word.
Awesome. All right.
We've had
Well,
lots of those. We've had lots of press. Maybe Meg's last thing to say. Been Rob Report and Condé Nast and Travel and Leisure and the Financial Times and Vanity Fair and lots of others across the last kind of 6 months. So yeah, we can share all of that. Meg and the team can share all of that if it helps. That typically I find helps very well. It's great for me to say it's amazing. It's great for J.MAK team to say it's amazing, but also if you've got some well-respected publications to say, yeah, they've been on board, it's legit, it really is amazing as well, then that helps.
Perfect. So it seems like too, kind of on that point, some of our advisors are asking for like images or videos that you could share.
Sure.
So Stephen will get your contact information, everyone, after the webinar, and we'll follow up with obviously some of that information, and some photos and stuff like that. We did have a couple questions here, so headed back up to the top. Let's see.
Yeah.
So there's a question on sustainability. So how are your efforts to eliminate single-use, support local, empower communities, etc.?
Yeah, I can just see somebody. Uli was asking 2 feet ceiling, no, 2 meter ceiling. So
Not 2
6
feet.
feet? Not 2 feet. No. I'm short, but not that short. But yeah, so 2 meter ceiling heights throughout. So my business partner's 6'6", so he wanted to make sure that he doesn't bang his head when he's walking around. So yeah, every cabin has at least 2 meter ceiling height. How do you accommodate diving? Do you have all the equipment? Yes. Out of the 12 crew, that is a good point. I forgot to say, out of the 12 crew, we have 11 Indonesian crew. And then we always have presently, we have 3 expatriate voyage managers. So at the moment, they are English, Spanish, and French. So they're like the GM of a 5-cabin floating villa. So they're hospitality trained. They're amazing. So they're hospitality trained. They speak Bahasa. They're a dive instructor and they're a marine biologist. So they're kind of all packaged up and host everything. So when you go snorkeling or diving, it's really fun. You come back, they get out the books and they give you some crazy facts about what you've just seen and why they're special and what's amazing about them. And it's great. One, I love it, but yeah, teenage kids or kids really like they kind of get into that a lot. And as far as the diving, as I said, yeah, we always have a dive instructor on board, so people can learn to dive if they want. They can get their paddy on board if they wish, and if they have their paddy, they can just off they go. If somebody just wants to give it a go, we can do discover diving, and as I said, there's no cost for any of the diving; it's all included. If they wish to. So we have a dive instructor, we have a dive master, and we have 15 tanks, and we have a compressor. So yes, we are a floating villa with also a dive center, a floating dive center as well. Seas usually calm. I think we covered that one. Yes, absolutely. That's the plan. Of course, sometimes there might be some swell, and then the captain is looking for, we'll change the itinerary. As I said, we've got an office of 12, and so the captain and the voyage managers are supported by our ops team in Bali, and they're constantly looking at weather patterns and advising. And but the aim and the target is that it's pancake flat. Niche in sustainability, I mean, for sure, gets talked about a lot. My view on sustainability is just it's just part of what you should be doing as a luxury brand and experience. So yes, no plastic bottles. Everybody that gets on board, this is a ridiculous example of very small, but everybody gets like their own bottle. It's then as in a metal bottle, not a plastic bottle, and so we try not to use any single-use plastic. We work with partners as far as, we're in the middle of Raja Ampat. It's not like we can just pop to the shops and get some supplies. What we go with is what everybody's eating and drinking for the 7 nights or however long it might be. So we work with partners that we know, minimize plastic and that kind of pollution. We've worked with different companies. So companies such, we had a partnership with Conservation International and still do for some time when we were creating marine protection areas. Ensuring that the marine life kind of thrives. So there can be no fishing and no water sports in those areas by tagging marine life and looking at the migration patterns. We work with local communities for sure, as far as plastic and collection, and there's a couple of really remote schools that we sponsor. We do as much as we can, I suppose. Karaoke buses has thrown me. Oh, the karaoke, that was on the ferry. Karaoke truck drivers singing karaoke. How long ahead are you booked out? Yes, we have lots of videos. I can send those to everyone or through Meg. We have a Dropbox of lots of different videos. We also have a YouTube channel where we've got probably 50 different videos. So that's always a good one. Instagram is loaded with loads of videos as well. So that's great. How far do you book out? Quite far. I'm not sure how you guys are finding this year, but it just seems to be nuts. I think since COVID, some people are booking 2 years out, and other people are like, "Can we come next week?" Like, no. You could, if there's availability. We probably need 72 hours to get like harbour clearance, port clearance, get the food out, get the drinks out, get everything going. But to give an example, for the rest of 2023, across both boats, we've got 5 voyages available. So that's about 20, it's about 30 days, 30 nights. That's across both, so 15 nights on each boat. And 2024 is booking. I'd say ideally 12 months, but 6 months. But we have availability, as I said, for the rest of the 6 months. We still have, weirdly, Christmas on one of the boats. So if you have festive, I think it's 18th to the 26th is available, which is amazing. It's in Raja Ampat. But I'll send those through as well. As I said, the easiest way to work with us is we've got a team of 12, so it's just to reach out. We work with DMCs if you want to work with DMC, but really we're going to advise on the flights. We're going to pick everyone up. We do our own transfers from the airports. But if you're doing lots of different parts of Indonesia, then sure, we can recommend DMCs in Indonesia or Southeast Asia if you wish. But really, I would say contact us, speak to the team. We can jump on a call with you. We can jump on a call with you and your guests. But the hard part is to get the voyage booked in and the dates that can kind of work, and then we can move the hotels and the flights all around that. We only have 5 cabins per boat, so our inventory is a lot smaller than most of the hotels. So my advice would be to kind of, if you are interested, to talk to us first, try and get that locked in, and then book the flights and the hotels around it. Because sometimes people book the flights and then kind of start looking at hotels and like, oh, can we fit you in on these specific dates? And that's very hard when we mainly do private charter. So yeah.
Great
boats for short
combination with
people. No,
Nihi as well, our other partner in
yeah,
Indonesia, where I spent my honeymoon recently. So definitely recommend.
yeah. He's fantastic. And we do a lot actually. We probably do at least a dozen voyages a year, more actually, probably more like 20 voyages a year, where people have been to Nihi and then they do Rascal voyages. It's both uber luxury. The price point's about the same. Um, the It's kind of that barefoot luxury kind of vibe, and it's pretty close. Um, Nihi peak would be April to October. When I say peak, I mean I like it all year round in Indonesia. It's just it has two seasons. It has kind of a dry season or a wet season. Um, and so yeah, we would be close to Nihi April to October. But again, it's never too far. It is. I mean, it's a 4-hour flight basically from Bali across to Raja Ampat, where we are October through to April. Sati dua tinggal 45. Yeah, and you need a coffee with milk. Better of a hassle than mine almost. Do we have a decompression room on board? We don't, but they have one in Labuan Bajo, and they have one in Sarong, which are the home ports of where we explore. So yeah, we always have that. As far as like that level of diving, we can do that level of diving. That's probably like doing 4 or 5 dives a day and going to quite deep kind of waters. We have done that. I'd personally say Rascal Voyages probably isn't for those people that want to do 4 or 5 dives a day. I mean, I don't want to turn away any business, but I think there are just dive boats, and you're just focused on diving, and that's all you're really doing. And it's not about the luxury of the cabins or the food or the hospitality. It's just just dive junkies, which is great. It's the most beautiful part in the world to dive. But I'd say on average, probably 50% of our guests dive. Some people don't dive at all. Visibility is amazing. So you see just as much snorkeling. It's just a very different experience. You're either looking down on it or you're swimming around it. Yeah, and if they do dive, they're probably doing like 2 dives a day. So we're never going to get into the realms of kind of decompression. But yes, we have all the safety protocols. As I said, we have 2 speedboats to get them to port. We have satellite phones. Everyone's medically trained. We've got we've got a support team in Bali of 12 to help anything like that. 12K for the week, unfortunately not. It's 12K for the night. So 12K per night for the private charter. So for 10 people, it's about 1,200. If they maxed it, it's $1,200 per person per night.
Keep in mind too, that's with your food, right?
Yeah, that's with all the activities, diving, food, soft
Activities.
drinks,
Yeah, it's really, I
activity,
mean,
transfers. It's
yeah,
everything basically, apart from and everything you can think of apart from alcohol is in there.
I think it's a great price point for sure. And especially now knowing too that you have that pocket for festive, what a great opportunity to sell to those clients that you guys have. What a fabulous festive that would be.
Yeah.
So.
There's I can see a couple other images we can use to post on social media. Absolutely. We'll sort that out. How long are the journeys and what islands do we recommend? Modo, we would say a minimum of 4 nights. I would recommend 5, 6 if they can, but a minimum of 4. That's near Bali. It's a 1-hour flight from Bali. I was there on Tuesday actually, with all of the crew, which was great. So that's April to October is Komodo season, and yeah, we'd recommend a minimum of 4 nights, and then it could go up to like 10, as much as you want, but a minimum of 4. Raja Ampat is just a bigger national park, and it's so gorgeous that we've done fam trips and press trips in 5 nights and just crammed it in, because time is short. But I'd recommend 7 nights as a minimum for Raja Ampat, and ideally more, but 7 nights for Raja Ampat. yes, we bought the land in Samoa, and I'll be speaking to all of you guys about that property in a few years' time, hopefully, but not as of yet. Something else come through just now. Yes, just not the price. Yeah.
Correct. Well, I think that was all of our questions. So, yeah, we're good to go. So, Stephen, thank you so much again for waking up at
No,
3:30 in
thank
the
you.
morning. This is a fabulous product, though. I mean, definitely seeing some of the other options when I was out there in Indonesia and in Nihi too. Some of the clients actually that were with Rascal were at Nihi when I was there the same time, and we're just raving about the floating villa and the experience and the team. So it really is super unique. And so thank you for sharing, Stephen. Thank you, everyone, for watching this and being here, being a part of it. And tomorrow, like I said, again, we're going to continue our summer school with classic vacations. So feel free to join, and we'll follow up with everyone today. Thank you so much. We'll follow up with more information about Rascal, obviously, and those photos and all of that kind of stuff, so you can start sharing with your clients. So thank you so much for joining. And Stephen, we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for
Cheers.
organising. Thank you, everyone,
Yeah.
for joining. See you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.